So, the digital security landscape has been fundamentally transformed by the emergence of powerful Linux tools that have, effectively democratized hacking. This shift has put sophisticated cyber attack capabilities within reach of even novice criminals, and honestly, it's making robust digital defense more challenging than ever. These tools have evolved from specialized utilities that once required deep technical knowledge to, user-friendly platforms with graphical interfaces and automated workflows. Now, would-be hackers are guided through complex attacks with frightening efficiency. At the forefront of this disturbing trend is Metasploit framework, which is frankly the penetration testing tool that has become the Swiss Army knife of cybercriminals. What began as a legitimate security testing platform has over time morphed into a comprehensive attack system, complete with an extensive database of pre-built exploits targeting everything from outdated web applications to unpatched operating systems. The framework's modular design allows attackers to chain together complex multi-stage attacks with just simple commands, and its recent integration with AI-powered vulnerability assessment modules can, automatically identify weak points in target systems and recommend the most effective exploits. Even more concerning is Metasploit's advanced payload generation system that creates malware capable of bypassing traditional antivirus detection, packaging malicious code into files that seem totally legitimate and, slip right past security defenses. The tool's extensive documentation and active community forums have basically created a self-service training ground where aspiring hackers can quickly learn to execute sophisticated attacks that just a decade ago would have required years of specialized knowledge. Security teams now report seeing relatively inexperienced attackers using Metasploit to compromise networks within hours of downloading the framework, following step-by-step tutorials that are readily available on dark web forums and, surprisingly, even some surface websites disguised as ethical hacking resources. Equally alarming is the rise of SQLmap, the automated SQL injection tool that has, honestly, turned one of the most devastating web application vulnerabilities into a point-and-click operation. SQL injection attacks, which can allow attackers to bypass authentication, steal entire databases, and even gain complete control of back-end systems, once required manual testing and a pretty deep knowledge of database architectures. SQLmap has eliminated these barriers entirely, automating the whole exploit process with, terrifying efficiency. The tool can automatically detect vulnerable parameters, extract database schemas, dump sensitive information like credit card numbers or user credentials, and even establish persistent backdoors, all with minimal user input. Recent versions have incorporated machine learning algorithms that adapt attack patterns based on the target's defenses, making it increasingly difficult for traditional web application firewalls to detect and block these intrusions. Security analysts have documented cases where completely inexperienced attackers used SQLmap to compromise e-commerce sites within minutes, stealing thousands of customer records before administrators even realized they were under attack. The tool's evasion techniques have grown so sophisticated that it can bypass many next-generation security solutions by randomizing attack patterns and mimicking legitimate traffic, leaving organizations vulnerable even when they believe they've implemented proper safeguards. And perhaps most disturbingly, SQLmap's effectiveness has created a thriving underground economy where stolen database dumps are bought and sold on dark web marketplaces, with some attackers specializing solely in using the tool to harvest data they then sell to higher-level criminals, who use it for identity theft, financial fraud, and corporate espionage. Network intrusion has been similarly simplified by Nmap, the network scanning tool that has evolved far beyond its original purpose of simple port discovery. Modern versions of Nmap can automatically map entire network infrastructures, identify vulnerable services, detect security misconfigurations, and even predict which exploits would be most effective against specific systems, essentially providing attackers with a blueprint for compromise. The tool's scripting engine allows for creation of custom attack modules that automate everything from brute force attacks to vulnerability exploitation, while its timing and evasion features help bypass intrusion detection systems. Nmap's recent integration with vulnerability databases means it can now cross-reference discovered services with known exploits, providing attackers with a prioritized list of security weaknesses to target. Security teams report that Nmap has become the reconnaissance tool of choice for sophisticated attackers who use it to gather intelligence before feeding the information directly into other hacking tools like Metasploit for automated exploitation. The tool's widespread legitimate use by system administrators provides perfect cover for attackers, as Nmap traffic often blends in with normal network activity, making it extremely difficult for security teams to distinguish between malicious scanning and routine maintenance. Advanced attackers have developed techniques using Nmap to conduct low and slow scans that fly under the radar of most monitoring systems, sometimes taking weeks to fully map a target network while avoiding detection. The tool has become so integral to modern hacking that it's now included by default in virtually every Linux-based penetration testing distribution, ensuring even the most novice attackers have immediate access to powerful network reconnaissance capabilities. The Social Engineering Toolkit, or SET, has industrialized the human element of hacking, automating what was once a labor-intensive process of crafting convincing phishing attacks. SET provides pre-built templates for everything from credential harvesting web pages to malicious email attachments, complete with features designed to bypass security filters and increase open rates. The tool's integration with AI-powered natural language generation allows creation of highly personalized phishing messages at scale, complete with context-aware content that mimics legitimate communications from banks, social media platforms, or corporate IT departments. SET's website cloning capabilities are particularly dangerous. Attackers can create perfect replicas of login pages that capture credentials while evading detection, complete with SSL certificates and domain names that appear legitimate to casual inspection. The toolkit includes features for QR code phishing, voice phishing, and other emerging attack vectors, constantly updating its arsenal to reflect the latest social engineering trends. Where attackers once needed design skills and psychological insight to craft convincing lures, they can now generate professional quality attacks with a few menu selections. Security analysts have observed phishing campaigns generated by SET achieving open rates exceeding 70% and click-through rates over 30%, rivaling legitimate marketing campaigns in their effectiveness. The tool has been particularly devastating when used against corporate targets, where a single compromised employee account can provide attackers with a foothold to move laterally through entire networks. Recent versions have incorporated features specifically designed to bypass multi-factor authentication, using real-time proxy servers to intercept authentication codes as users enter them on spoofed login pages. Perhaps most alarmingly, Hydra has revolutionized brute force attacks by weaponizing distributed computing and machine learning to crack credentials at unprecedented speeds. Modern versions of this password-cracking tool can leverage cloud computing resources, GPU acceleration, and rainbow table attacks to break into systems that would have been considered secure just a few years ago. Hydra's adaptive algorithms learn from each attempt, optimizing attack patterns based on the target's response times and lockout policies to maximize success while minimizing detection. The tool supports hundreds of protocols and services, from SSH and RDP to web forms and API endpoints, making it a universal key for attackers looking to gain initial access to systems. Recent developments have seen Hydra integrated with password databases from major breaches, allowing attackers to launch credential stuffing attacks that combine known passwords with subtle variations, dramatically increasing success rates. The tool's distributed attack mode lets hackers coordinate password attempts across multiple machines and geographic locations, circumventing rate-limiting and IP-blocking defenses that would stop simpler brute force attempts. Security teams report that Hydra-powered attacks now account for nearly 40% of all unauthorized access attempts against corporate networks, with success rates increasing as users continue to reuse passwords across multiple services. The tool has become so effective that some attackers specialize solely in credential cracking, selling validated login credentials to other criminals on dark web marketplaces. Recent versions have incorporated features specifically designed to target cloud-based services, taking advantage of the always-on nature of cloud infrastructure to maintain persistent attack attempts that would be quickly detected against traditional on-premises systems. These tools collectively represent a perfect storm for cybersecurity professionals, combining accessibility, power, and sophistication in ways that make defense increasingly difficult. Their dual-use nature as both security testing utilities and attack platforms creates an ongoing challenge for defenders, as restricting access would hamper legitimate security research while doing nothing to prevent determined attackers from obtaining them. The tools continue evolving at a rapid pace, with each new version incorporating more automation, better evasion techniques, and integration with other malicious software. Recent developments have seen these tools begin to incorporate artificial intelligence in ways that make them even more dangerous. Automatically generating new attack variants when detected, analyzing defensive systems to identify weaknesses, and even mimicking normal user behavior to avoid triggering alerts. The cybersecurity community faces an ongoing arms race against these weaponized tools, requiring constant innovation in defensive technologies and strategies. Organizations now must assume that attackers have access to these capabilities and architect their defenses accordingly, implementing multi-layered security controls, robust monitoring systems, and comprehensive employee training programs. As these tools continue lowering the barrier to entry for cybercrime, they're not just changing how attacks are carried out, they're fundamentally altering the threat landscape in ways that demand equally innovative defensive approaches. The future of cybersecurity will be defined by this ongoing battle between increasingly automated attack tools and the security professionals working to defend against them, with the stakes growing higher as more critical systems move online and become potential targets.